Hi, I'm Jack DeJohnette, and welcome to my homespun video entitled Musical Expression on the Drum Set. And during the course of the video, I'd like to talk about the drum set with all its component parts as a complete musical entity within itself, much the same way as you would listen to a piano or a guitar on its own. And my good friend and drummer, composer, band leader, Harvey Sorgan, who's also a homespun artist, is going to drop by, and together we will attempt to demonstrate some of my philosophies and techniques on the drum set. I sincerely hope you enjoy it. Hey, Harvey, how you doing?
That was beautiful.
Good to see you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Great to hear you play. I think, first of all, I want to say it's great that you're doing this video. I know a lot of guys, and myself included, have been looking for you to do this kind of thing. Been checking you out for a lot of years, and a number of questions. And now that I got you here, I'd love to ask you, you know, just from like what you just played, moving around through the different grooves, and the funk groove, and the rock groove, and the swing thing, you have like this looseness, this way that you play that's really loose, with a huge sound. It's like almost effortless. And, you know, one thing I just wanted to ask, like, physically, what are you thinking about? What's happening in here physically, and, you know, how this is all working? Because it's all working together, which is really beautiful. And what you do, any specific exercises that you may have to develop some of this stuff.
I'd be more than happy to share that with you and the audience out there. One of the things is to visualize being very relaxed. And usually before you sit down at the instrument, you know, you do some warm-ups. You know, it could be single strokes, double strokes, you know. Visualize yourself being very relaxed at the instrument, everything being very balanced. And a couple of the exercises that I do, one is for the left hand particularly. I get complaints from drummers who tell me that their left hand is a little slower than the right. So one exercise that was shown to me by a very fine drummer named Clarence Johnston was an exercise which involves the fulcrum. And the fulcrum being just right here between the thumb and the second finger.
Now muscle in there, you mean, like this?
Yeah, there's a muscle that needs to be developed.
Right.
So that, as opposed to playing with, you know, your fingers, and which only you can sustain for a little while, you develop the power and strength from the fulcrum, like that. And that comes all the way up your upper arm, so that you use the whole arm. So you're getting, the power is really coming from up here. So that when you do these exercises, which are, by the way, triplets, they're triplets with the accents on the first beat, or you can change that accent and vary it. And you start this very slowly, and as you gather more strength in your fulcrum, you can speed up the tempo. And I'll demonstrate. Also change those accents around and vary those accents, which will also improve your strength with the fulcrum.
It's great. It's such a huge sound, and being so relaxed. And I mean, in the way you play, it's almost not even just when you're playing exercises, but in the way that you play, it's all left-hand-wise, pretty open. I never, you know, really, you know, finger-wise, and that's what gets that big sound, kind of.
Yeah, yeah. When I cradle the stick with my fingers, it's just really to cradle them.
Right.
As you can see. When I want to make an even stronger accent, I'll come up like this.
Yeah.
You see rock drummers who do this, you know. So you come up, so you can get it more power there, you know. Also, in regard to looseness and relaxedness, I notice some drummers, you know, they always come to me and they say, well, you know, I was tightened up when I play strong, so when the music gets intense. So I suggest to them that they do the reverse as they learn to relax. And it takes a lot of practice because most of us are in the habit when the music gets emotional and gets tension in it and gets so we say aggressive, we have a tendency to tighten up. So the sound that one makes on the instrument is sort of choke sound. Now invariably when you do this, you cut off the circulation of blood to the parts of your body that you need more oxygen, you know, more blood flow. So when you play stronger, my concept is that you relax and reverse that process. And you then have to feel a balance within your body, feel the right amount of tension and relaxation. It's that balance of both things.
Between you and the sticks, and
yeah,
just getting like working together with it.
Right, right. So that when you play, like single strokes, for instance, when you play them, also think of the sticks as being light in your hand. Very light. Just picking them up, let them fall down. You see, and when I played very strongly, I was relaxing everything. And also the motion that I use when I play, you notice was the whole arm turns with the elbow going out like this, like so. So you're getting complete coordination with your shoulders and your elbows.
And you play like single strokes and double strokes and different rudiments, always maintaining this kind of...
Yeah, circular kind of motion. It's, you know, it's an open motion. You have a space here. You know, some drummers tend to play like this, you know, so their movement is choked.
Right.
Their movement is choked. But you like to see this kind of motion happen. You know, some of the drummers who get a lot of power, a lot of strength like that, like Tony Williams, Elvin Jones, for instance, if you watch them when they sit, there is this circle, this fulcrum, you know, where they sit, where there's this space between the arms, you know. And Elvin is very relaxed. He's very relaxed when he goes to make a sound, when he comes up here, you know. And Tony takes a big full swing at his drums, and he sits right in the center where he can, you know, really take a really good shot all around the set of everything, you see. So it's important to keep that balance and relaxedness. And again, to play the drum set, to play it and make it project, you know, you don't have to gorilla the drum set or overcome it. You have to make friends with it, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
It's, you know, you visualize thinking about the sound that you extract from the set and project to the listener. So you have all of these ideas integrating, coming together to work in combination to give you a flow of ideas and creativity so that you can express yourself without any physical interruptions when you're playing your ideas. And when you don't have to worry about physically being tight, then you can relax and let your creative ideas flow.
Yeah, Jack, that was great. You know, the way physically when you're talking about being open up here and playing on the drums and just what's happening, fulcrum, and the way you play the cymbals and the sound you get, I know the sound of your cymbals, the kind of cymbals that you use, I mean, we can get into that in a minute too because I wanted to ask about them, but just in the way that you play, the sound that you get physically, sound off of the cymbals, does this stuff apply to that? Is it physically, motion-wise, to move around to get that loose, swinging thing?
Most definitely applies to that, and I'll give a demonstration. Let's say, for instance, the ride cymbal, for instance. I use the whole arm when I'm playing the cymbal, and I use the bounce, you know, controlling the bounce from the stick when it comes off of the cymbal. So let's give an example. I'll play some quarter notes. You can watch the movement of my arm when I'm doing that. As you can see, your hand is pushing, the shoulder's pushing. Now I will play the ride beat. Once again, think of the stick as very light and flowing. Now this
is that like a finger thing, you know?
No, it's just right here in the fulcrum, right here, as you can see, right there, and it's just utilizing, you know, the right amount of tension and relaxation there in the fulcrum, and utilizing the bounce. Let's try like a faster tempo, for example. So. So you can see there's no fingers there. We're just cradling the stick. So it's that pushing motion that I'm talking about.
Still real loose with balance and working with the balance of what's happening.
And also, at a faster tempo, we'll try even a faster tempo where it really helps, you know. very relaxed, very relaxed.
Yeah. Sounds so open.
Yeah.
You know.
And you're getting, you're getting the most out of a little bit, you know. You're making energy and physics work for you, you know. And also, one suggestion for drummers who, want to play very long periods of time and very intense and very strongly, I highly recommend that you warm up. You do some warm-ups, practice singles, doubles, rudiments. There's also another exercise you might try, which is stretches. Stretching each hand this way, holding it for a while, and doing the reverse. It's just a stretch, like dancers do, And sometimes musicians don't think of themselves as athletes, but we have to look at ourselves as athletes. And athletes do warm-ups, and it really makes a difference. It's like a boxer, when you see the boxers coming out of the room, and usually the boxer who wins the fight is the one who came out and he's got a sweat, he's wet, he's loose, and the boxer who comes out who doesn't have a sweat, he's tight, his rhythm is off, and usually he gets knocked out in the early couple of rounds. And the same thing can be said for drumming particularly, which is an endurance type of thing. You want to, just do some stretches,
Things to,
some exercises like this, just get everything loose, try to touch your toes.
Yeah, feet-wise, and,
Yeah.
ways to loosen up your legs.
Yeah.
Think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of speed and accuracy and endurance with your feet also. Bass drum-wise and hi-hat, you do beautiful things between them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's ways to work on that, to loosen that stuff up. And
Yeah, there are some exercises. There are some exercises for that, which I would recommend. One exercise is some exercises with the right foot, which are actually on the pedal, on the set. You can try them off the set too, but the reason I suggest with the drum set is because I want to utilize the ride cymbal beat. And one exercise I like to talk about is allowing your foot to follow your ride cymbal beat. So you can start by doing this. And as I said earlier, I suggest you start these exercises very slowly, so that you get comfortable with them. And as you gain control at the slower tempos, you can speed this exercise up. Now, the way I'm playing this right now is with my full foot on the beater. It's not heel toe right now. It's just the foot flat on the pedal. When I play faster, then I'll go up with my toe, because I get asked this question a lot.
Right.
So. That time I was up on my toe for that one. And playing faster ideas, I usually do that with my foot, with the foot on the on the toe, of 9,
You
my
get a little,
toe.
find you get a little more speed that way, or?
Yeah, I'm controlling the spastic muscle, which,
Right.
when you get into that, where you roll. I try to control that in a way so that besides just rolling, I like to play some complete ideas. Examples like,
And left foot wise, I mean hi-hat wise, is that like figure in terms of breaking stuff up and moving around? I mean, it's any kind of...
well, yeah, with the hi-hat, it's a matter of displacement. In other words, you're placing accents that you might play here on the foot to the hi-hat. So there are some exercises I do recommend, like playing ride cymbal beats with the hi-hat. And then for faster, things, the triplets, you can try that too. And for that, you notice I was using the toe for that, And for faster things, that's also toe, as you notice. Things between the drum set, things like
ways of, like if you incorporate that when you're thinking about playing time, like between your left hand and your feet, and you're breaking stuff up and moving it around, and triplet kind of, I don't know, just the way that the big sound.
Yeah, well, when I'm moving things around, I'll give an example of that, for instance.
wanted to ask you a little bit about the sound of the drums and the tuning. I mean, the one thing really always that struck me about the sound, your sound, is the really definite kind of like tunings that you go for. I mean, there's so much tone, and you play real melodically, you know, even when you're playing time or stuff like that. I just want to get an idea, tuning-wise, what do you go for? Do you think about different tunings for different tunes or styles of music? But just tuning-wise, how do you feel about the different drums and stuff?
Yeah, well, tuning-wise, today, while we were filming this video, I have these tuned a certain way. Actually, the way these are tuned are pretty broad in range, so that I can play either straight-ahead jazz forms, or I can play like funk forms, you know.
So you kind of go for a tuning that would fit different things, not so radically, but different from one style to another.
Yeah, I mean, depending on the music situation. Today, I have my toms tuned sort of like, sort of to a G dominant 7th chord. And so we have the floor tom here, the 14 by 14, the 13, we have a B.
Yeah, it's really like chord tones, like a scale.
Yeah, and when you have your drums tuned like this melodically, and you know, you can relate this to like the piano or the guitar. There's always a melody, no matter what rhythm you play. The drummer is quite obvious to himself and to the listener that you're playing melody, harmony, and rhythm. You know, so you have all these things going. So you have.
Do you find yourself playing with mallets? I mean, do you kind of use these tunings even when you're playing with sticks and stuff like that?
Yes, you know, the mallets, for instance, if you notice I'm using marimba mallets as opposed to timpani mallets, because something about these marimba mallets that sort of bring out more overtones than, say, the timpani mallets, although there's certain size and thicknesses, softness and hardnesses. But I've found experimenting with these marimba mallets that I get the sound that I want on the cymbals and the drums. I get more preferred sound from these.
Yeah.
And the other thing, you know, speaking of cymbals, you know, we talk about cymbals.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about what's going on with these, and these specifically, these cymbals, and how you view, you know, kind of like cymbals and drums, and it's a little different than just playing time on them and stuff.
Yeah, well, again, Well, I'll use the analogy of the piano or the harp, for instance. To me, like the cymbals are to the drum set what the sustain pedal is to the harp or the piano. So you can play things, for instance, you know, on the drum set. And you have a sustained sound while you play something else.
Yeah.
Now these cymbals, you might notice, are a little different looking than most cymbals. These are cymbals that I designed in collaboration with the Sabian cymbal company up in Medictic, New Brunswick, Canada. These are jackkkkkkkkk signature series, and they're a dark sound. They have a dark sound on them and a dry sound. And one of the reasons for this is you get a real definite stick sound. And one of the reasons that I designed these cymbals was because the drummer could play these cymbals and bear down with them and play them real hard without major overtone buildup so that you don't obscure the band when you're playing. And also, from a hearing point of view, it's much more friendlier on the ears. As we know, sometimes a ride cymbal that builds up over a period of time, it has been proven that horn players and some drummers suffer loss of hearing.
Especially like top end, high frequency stuff.
High frequency. And the advantage of these cymbals is that even when you do bear down on them, it's still a comfortable sound. It's not grating to the ears, and the drummer doesn't have to hold back. You can really lay into them. So the drummer can still dig in and feel like he's really, you know, bearing down without feeling like he's feeling intimidated that somebody's going to throw a stick at him or tell him to shut up, you know. And so this also gives a definite stick sound so that the musicians can also always hear where the beat is. Now, my hi-hats are also the same, and you notice that these cymbals are not hammered or lathed, they're not shiny, and the reason being, at this stage in cymbal making, I found that the sound I was looking for was inherent in the cymbal at this stage before it goes into hammering and lathing. So these hi-hats give a dark sound and a nice, thick, fat, meaty chick. So they're really nice for playing like funk things, you know. These are crash cymbals, different AA crashes and thin crash. I'm in the process of designing a jackkkkkkkkk dark crash cymbals and some improvements on the signature series hi-hat and also another line of ride cymbals. Soon to come, forthcoming.
Yeah.
It'll be a surprise.
Looking forward to that.
But again, like I said, the cymbals are like orchestral tones. You know, you have. One of the questions I get asked quite frequently is, Jack, what are you thinking about when you're playing time and you're playing phrases that overlap the bar line? And I'm going to attempt to demonstrate this with the help of Harvey. And before we do that, I'd just like to explain, when I'm playing a time field, there is another timekeeper in my head that's keeping the time, so that when I'm overlapping the phrases, there is someone that's keeping the time inside. You know, so when I'm playing a phrase of 4 bars or 8 bars, I'm not thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 4, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. You know, I'm thinking or feeling the length of 4 bars, of 6 bars, or 8 bars, so that I'm feeling the phrase, so that I can concentrate on the idea of the phrase, and another timekeeper is keeping up the bar count, but I'm not, you know, I don't have to deal with that. So I play the feel of 4 bars, 8 bars, or 16 bars, or whatever the length of the solo form is. So I'm going to demonstrate with the help of my friend Harvey, who's going to play, keep time with his hands on 2 and 4, you know, clapping 2 and 4, and I'm going to demonstrate my concept of phrasing. So you ready, Harvey?
I'm ready.
Okay. So I'm going to count it off, and here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
guys talked about is in terms of your brushes, your brush playing, the way you play brushes. I mean, it doesn't seem to be a thing, even though you play brushes all the time, especially with Keith's trio.
Right.
You know, it doesn't see the thing that people recognize you for, but you have such a beautiful sound, a beautiful way to play, that I really just wanted to bring that up, make sure that's clear, because like he was saying, there's not enough emphasis on playing brushes these days, and I'm just really curious about, you know, your playing, maybe some of the patterns that you're doing, and how you approach playing ballads, medium tempo things, up tempo things. So
yeah, I'd be more than happy to talk about that. In this instance, I'd like to demonstrate the ballad playing with the brushes, which is really a really fine art. It's very difficult, as you know. Unlike the stick, the rebound is not the same, so you really have to lift your wrist in order to get things to happen. One of the examples I'd like to give concerning brush work is a drum set actually playing a ballad without the bass or the guitar or the piano or the horn. And just having the drums just play the ballad, a ballad complete within itself and an arrangement within itself. And because the way you listen to like a bass solo or a piano solo or a trumpet or a saxophone solo. So I'm going to demonstrate some variations on ballad playing with the brushes. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4.
beautiful. You can really, really hear the melody in what you're playing. It really sounds like the song really going for it. I mean, you talk a lot about that in terms of, you know, being musical, playing music on the drums. What about like quicker tempos? I mean, just really specifically, I know a lot of guys even that do play brushes have difficulty playing up tempo. You know,
it's just really difficult.
Like you say, you don't get the rebound or the sound. And getting the sound out of the brushes is a whole other thing. So
that in itself, brushes sort of a separate study on their own, just practicing with those. As a matter of fact, if you could get your singles and doubles and flams and the other rudiments happening with the brushes, when you play sticks, It'll
Yeah.
be that much cleaner. The other thing is, in terms of touch and tone, this will also help your dynamics, touch and tone, being able to play the delicate as well as strong phrasing with the brushes. So I'll give some examples. We'll take some medium tempos and then we'll go up into the faster tempos. And I'll slow it down and demonstrate the exact technique that's being used and how to apply that. We'll take a medium tempo. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Now we'll go into a real bright tempo. And I discovered a solution to that. And that was playing a fast tempo. Normally, you would play the right hand, will be playing ride cymbal on the snare drum. Faster tempos, it's almost impossible. It's possible. You have to really work on it really hard. But at a real faster tempo, I use a technique such as this, playing using a sweeping motion with the left hand. So you get that swish sound. So I'm going to do it at a much faster tempo, and but it'll be very relaxed, very smooth. So here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, Jack, that was beautiful. You
Yeah,
know,
thanks.
really beautiful, really clean. You know, the thing I noticed with you, which is really kind of hip, is that it doesn't seem to be a lot of difference in your technique and your physical thing, hand-wise and shoulder-wise, when you're playing brushes, as opposed to when you're playing sticks. I know a lot of guys have like completely different techniques, but you get that sound playing brushes, which is beautiful.
Well, that, you know, that also is part of the visualization of the sound. You know, visualizing that sound and being able to have that same control, finesse with the brushes that you have with the sticks. And it's a different feel because of, obviously, it's not a wood bouncing back. It's, you know, metal, but there's just a space of balance, you know, when you get inside and you feel it. And the brushes respond in the same manner.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very, it's a sort of an intuitive thing, you know.
Yeah, it's very beautiful.
Sort of intuitive thing. And, you know, trust that, and trust your ears, and trust your feeling and your intuition about that. And that should balance out.
Playing like different kinds of grooves, like rock grooves and funk grooves and maybe a reggae groove or a Latin groove, and the way you're thinking about them in terms of, you know, straight, and how they can open up and get more musical and a little wider and come back. I think it'd really be great. You know, I always wanted to see kind of lay one down like a reggae groove and open it up and come back, maybe move through, because you always seem to have this continuity in your playing, no matter what you're playing. So I was curious about that, you know. And
well, I'd be more than happy to oblige you and the listeners who are viewing this tape. We'll start out with a reggae groove, and then I'll segue into some funk grooves, rock grooves, and maybe move into a Brazilian kind of, you know, Latin kind of groove, and take some musical voyages on these styles. So here we go. 1, 2. study that. For quite a while, I was unaware that unconsciously my years as a pianist and a band leader and a composer translated into my drumming as from an orchestral point of view. So there was always a dialogue going on with myself, you know, with the tuning, with the melody,
right.
harmony, rhythm. I relate to the ensemble according to the chord structure. If it's a piece with the, you know, specific chords set up, and how the soloists relate to those things in terms of scales, substitutions, things like that I can hear because I know the piano, and I can hear sophisticated harmonies. And that translates here on the drum set to a tonality, to a color, to a shading, to a rhythm, to the harmonic combinations on the drum set, on the toms and the snare, the foot, the hi-hat, or the cymbals. So I think it really serves the drummer well if he plays guitar or vibes or
any kind of chordal,
piano or
thing.
flute, whatever, so that whenever he plays, he's playing melodically, not just rhythmically and harmonically. And it definitely helps the drummer to know these things so that when you're sitting there and the rest of the band is trying to figure out the theoretical parts of the composition, you can also contribute and make suggestions, and everybody respects you even more so because you know these things. You know the same things that the keyboard player knows, that the saxophone player knows, can transpose. And so definitely it's, I think, a definite plus for